This is an applied problem that involves a little geometry. The sum of the areas of 2 square water fountains is 8 square meters, and the difference of their areas is 2 square meters. Find the length of a side of each square. Well, let's begin by familiarizing ourselves with the problem. And let's let x and y represent the lengths of the sides of the squares, and these are going to be in meters. Now, the area of a square with side of length x is x squared. These will be the areas. And the area of a side with length y is y squared. And we'll use this to translate to a system of equations. We're told that the sum of the areas is 8 square meters, so that gives us an equation. X squared plus y squared equals 8. And we're told that the difference of the areas is 2 square meters, so that gives us a second equation. X squared minus y squared equals 2. So now let's solve this system of equations. We have the system x squared plus y squared equals 8, x squared minus y squared equals 2, and we'll use elimination to solve this. If I add these two equations just as they're written, I can see that the y squared terms are going to add up to 0. So when I do the addition, I get 2x squared is equal to 10. And that tells me then, dividing both sides by 2, that x squared is equal to 5. And taking the square root on both sides, I have x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 5. Now, since the length of a side of a square can't be a negative number, we'll only work with the square root of 5, the positive square root here. And let's go back to one of these two equations and substitute this value for x and find y. Let's use the first equation. So I'll have x squared, which is the square root of 5 squared plus y squared is equal to 8, or 5 plus y squared equals 8. Subtracting 5 on both sides, we have y squared equals 3. And taking square roots on both sides, we get y is equal to plus or minus the square root of 3. Now again, I'm going to reject the negative square root because this represents the length of a side of a square, so it can't be negative. So let's go to the fourth step in the problem-solving process and check our possible solution. And the numbers that we're checking for the lengths of the sides of the squares are the square root of 5 and the square root of 3. Well, a square whose side is the square root of 5 has an area of the square root of 5 squared, or 5, and a square with a side of length the square root of 3 has an area that's the square root of 3 squared, or 3. Now let's find the sum of the areas. It's supposed to be 8, and it is. And the difference of the areas is supposed to be 2, and it is as well. So the answer that we found checks, and now let's state the solution. The lengths of the sides of the squares are the square root of 5 meters and the square root of 3 meters.